If you're having trouble with mathematics, numbers getting problematic, don't you panic. Check MathWiz, the best math tutor on the planet. From fraction to algebra, simple maths, add up some trigonometry into that. Learning math is fun with MathWiz, and that's a fact. We're rooting for you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another MathWiz Academy lesson. Of course, all my return watchers, I am so happy that you continue to watch these videos. I hope they are helping. However, if it is your first time being here at MathWiz Academy, I just want to tell you a big first time welcome, and I hope that you will continue to go through, or rather that you will go through some other videos, work on those foundation skills. If you're preparing for your exam, I hope that these videos will help to fill the gap. All right, so we're in the last part of multiplying our positive and negative numbers. And so part 2, we would have dealt with what do you do if you have a number on the outside of a bracket. And today we're going to look at what if it's just a sign on the outside of a bracket. Okay, so here goes the rule. So if it means if you have a positive on the outside and a positive on the inside, the idea is that you will get a positive. If you have a negative on the outside and a negative on the inside, you will get a positive. If you have a positive multiplied by a negative in the bracket, you are supposed to get a negative. And if you have a negative on the outside and a positive on the inside of the bracket, you should also get negative. But why is that? Well, let's take a step back. So in the last videos we did, we spoke about the fact that numbers or letters on the outside of brackets mean multiplication. So from part 2 of the video, we would have already looked at the fact that 2 open bracket 3 really means 2 multiplied by 3, right? So it's almost like we replace the bracket with the multiplication sign. Now in math, when we only see a plus, what we're really supposed to realize is that this really means plus 1. So it is a similar question. The only difference is that the number is not explicitly there, right? And so you want to change that plus to plus 1. And then this should make more sense to you, because then you'll say, okay, if I have plus 1 on the outside of the bracket, then that simply becomes positive 1. And we know that that 7 inside is a positive 7. I'm going to go over that, but let's try the third example. Right, so you have minus 2, right? So just as the plus meant plus 1, the minus really means minus 1. And so if you can see that, you will be able to say, oh, but this looks like a question from part 2. And so I know that the minus means minus 1, and minus 1 on the outside of the bracket would be minus 1 times minus 2, or negative 1 times negative 2. So the plus, we change it to plus 1. And then that made it look like a part 2 question. And we know that numbers on the outside of the bracket, we simply change it to multiplication. This minus really became minus 1, right? And so these are the little foundation skills and things we want to be confident with as we're doing math, so that we understand the way that we speak or write in math. Okay, so let us say we have these as examples. So for the first one, I would want to change this plus for it to become plus 1 times, or positive 1, right? And in bracket we have the 4, so this is times positive 4, right? And I have a positive times a positive, so I know I'm going to get a positive, and 1 times 4 is 4. And then say, okay, what if I have minus 5, right? I'm going to change that to minus 1, or negative 1 multiplied by negative 5. And remember, guys, minus and negative are used interchangeably in terms of their meaning, right? So if you see a minus sign in front of a number, it makes it a negative number. All right. So we basically have negative 1 times negative 5. We have a negative times a negative, so we get a positive, and 1 times 5 will give us 5. We then have this plus on the outside, So we know this is really saying plus 1 times minus 2, right? And so then that becomes a positive times a negative is a negative, and 1 times 2 is 2. Right? You then have the negative. So you say negative 1 times positive 3, and negative times a positive is a negative, and 1 times 3 is 3. So go ahead and try these on your own. So go ahead and press pause, and once you're finished, you can press play to receive the solution. So provided you work these on your own, for the first one, right, that minus, you could change it. So you could see it, you have minus 1, minus 8, which you know is going to become minus 1 or negative 1 times negative 8, and that negative times negative gives you a positive, and the 1 times 8 is 8, right? And of course, that would be following the second rule, so you already should know that your answer should have been a plus, positive. And then for the second one, you would have had plus minus 10, so we could rewrite that as, you could put the positive 1 on the outside so that you see it clearly, and then that means positive 1 times negative 10, a positive times a negative is a negative, and 1 times 10 is 10. And again, so this one would be following the third rule. And so for question 3, we have plus 4, so you would put positive 1, open bracket, positive 4. So that's really positive 1 times positive 4, and a positive times a positive is a positive, and 1 times 4 is 4. For the final question that you're supposed to try on your own, we have a minus on the outside, so we know that becomes minus 1, right, or negative 1, and then we have the positive 7 on the inside. So this is really minus 1 multiplied by positive 7 and a negative, times a positive is a negative, and 1 times 7 is 7. And of course, that would have been the last rule. So if you found today's video useful, I want you to go ahead and leave a comment below. Of course, if there's anything I can do to improve the videos or just your experience, please be sure to let me know. Here at Mathways Academy, I am rooting for you, I believe in you, and I'll see you in the next video.